Hello, I'm Lisa with Lepeche Media. Lately I've been covering the stories on the housing crisis that is here. Not only is it here, it's across Canada and globally. However, the residents of Lepeche are struggling to find home rentals, home purchases, and even land are going to bidding wars. So I speak with Chris from Zelo Developments. During one of his public consultation, affordability was one of the concerns. So they offered 8 units to OHO for affordable housing. OHO is Office Habitation Outaouais. And in 2020, these 8 units were denied. It was thought that the units were overpriced for affordable housing. So today, we still don't have any affordable housing in the area and people are struggling. Let's hope that we can find a solution soon to help ease this issue in our area. Hello, I'm Lisa with Lepeche Media, and today I'm with Chris Bryce with Zelo Developments, and we're here at Wakefield Hills, and we're talking about the development that's going on. So welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you. So tell me, you have, I looked a little while ago, and you had some homes for sale, but now there's no more homes for sale, so.
That's right. Well, what basically happened is we did pre-sales that involved making a reservation. So people have reserved homes. The phase 1 people have moved, they've signed contracts and made deposits. The rest of the homes in phase 2, they're all reserved, but people in phase 2 won't be moving towards signing contracts until around May next month.
Okay. So in phase 1, how many homes are there? 18 homes in phase 1. And phase 2?
There's 56 in total.
Okay.
So yeah, do the math on
so
that.
you've sold 18 already?
Well, we've sold 18. We don't get paid until they're completed and they have the keys and they move in. They've all signed contracts, and then the rest of the project is reserved. We expect to have some availabilities come up in the second phase, just given that people reserved these back in October. They are subject to a price adjustment based on some of the inflation we've seen in building materials. That adjustment will be given late April, early May, and then they'll have a decision if they want to move to the next stage and sign a contract. If not, we just refund their reservation.
Okay. And how, we know that the market is very hot. Nothing is staying on the market for long. Do you have any ideas how long it took for your first 18 homes to sell or to be spoken for?
I mean, really quickly, one thing that happened with us was the Model D, which is the single level bungalow. We initially only had 4 in phase 1 and 4 in phase 2. They were reserved on the first day. And what we had probably underestimated was the amount of local people who were looking to downsize, move closer to the village core, and they hadn't had many options in the past, but they wanted to stay in Wakefield. They were getting older, their homes were getting too big to manage, so this created that opportunity, and we were lucky enough to be able to adjust the makeup of homes that we had in the project to cater more for that segment.
Okay. Let's talk about your values. I've read on your website the transparency, and I did some digging, and you did some public consultation here in the village, is that right? And what kind of pushback what kind of pushbacks did you feel from the residents here?
Well, we did our first public consultation back in December of 2019. That went well. I mean, that was before COVID, so everyone was able to assemble in the town hall. We brought along our urbanist, our architect, our environmental biologist, our hydrologist, our hydrogeologist, and our urbanist. And I think what that did was it gave the community a lot more comfort as to the checks and balances that go on with a development of this size. Because I think there was a bit of fear out there that we would just come in, do as we please, and move on. But I think once they saw that there was, all these experts that were involved in the planning process and the checks and balances, that gave them more comfort. The key things that people were concerned about primarily were water and traffic. Now, as part of that, we did, with the traffic, we did a traffic study where we employed a firm that conducts those from Montreal who came and did a traffic study. They grade traffic from A to F, A being the best. Wakefield fits clearly within the A category. And what they then do is they sample, they put meters on the roads and they're able to check the volume of traffic moving through for a period of time. And then they add the additional traffic that would be created by the development, and from that they're able to establish what bottlenecks would occur, if any. They do the morning rush hour and the afternoon rush hour as the primary areas of concern. And when they finished conducting the study, it showed that the roading system around the project would still clearly be in the A category. The two major intersections at either rush hour, the expected delay ranged from 0 to at most 4.2 seconds in the rush hour. So the roading network can easily take the increased volume of cars.
Okay, and then what about the water situation?
Sure. So for the water situation, and that was really our key concern, we hired Blue Metric, who are one of the preeminent water firms in the region, and they did a very robust study of the hydrological system that sits below ground here. And there's a rich aquifer, high quality, it replenishes quickly. We do know that some people in the surrounding area have had some problems with their water, but what we could establish from the information that we had was that the wells that were problematic were very, very old. They were also shallow. They were sitting in the top water table and not into the aquifer. So the good takeaway from the study is that people who have problems can pretty easily rectify them if they go deeper into the aquifer. So the water situation here is very good. There'll be a well that provides for every 2 homes, and that well will have separate well pumps and softening and filtration systems in each home.
Okay, and are all the wells already dug for the 56 homes?
No, the wells will go down in summer.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the quality of the homes that you're putting in?
Sure. Well, one thing and one of the concerns that came up, of course, as it does, is the environmental side of things. And we had some suggestion about doing the project as passive homes. We initially priced the cost of that, but it was very expensive, and so we didn't think it was sensible to press ahead with that. What we wanted to do was, we have a standard home here and have a passive home here. We wanted to see how much closer we could get to passive by substituting some materials for more environmentally friendly ones that didn't impact price too much. So one of the local people who is very big on housing and certainly environment, a man by the name of Andrew Ryan, we had him look at all of our plans and go through the materials and make suggestions where we could do substitutions in order to lower the sequestered carbon within the builds, and he was able to make a number of quite meaningful substitutions. Didn't impact price too much, but certainly reduced the carbon footprint of the homes. A couple of those materials are, for example, Eco4 panelling, Roxwool insulation and soundproofing. These things did lower the carbon in the homes by a fair amount. Switching things from, in terms of quality, from shingle roofing to steel roofing. We have Maybach wood siding that has 25-year guarantee. This is a very high level product. The home, probably the signature around the homes is the wood beams, sourced locally as well. We had the in-floor radiant heating, hardwood flooring, and I think quite a nice mix of some masonry, some wood, and the steel roofs give good contrast between the materials.
I was told that the municipality, or I think maybe it was Andrew Ryan's, that wanted to head up some more affordable homes here, because as we all know, we're definitely lacking in the rental department here in La Pêche. And so can you tell me a little bit, you had originally set aside 8 units for affordable homes, but it was turned down?
Mm. Well, I suppose just to backtrack a bit,
Sure.
going back to when we did the first public consultation, one of the things that was brought up was about affordability. And also the other thing that came up was about design. And so one of the issues that we faced, and particularly the architects, was trying to build something on one hand that was affordable, on the other hand was not too cookie cutter and had a nice aesthetic to the village. Now, obviously affordability and variability are kind of opposed opposites when it comes to design. But we think that the architects did a good job in building something. When we get into the question about affordability, the high quality products always move you away from that direction, but we thought it was more important to have a high quality build and just make it as affordable as we could within the materials that we were using. One of the ways that we sought to try and, I suppose, improve that affordability, well, fold into that affordability, was to vend in. We made an offer to vend in 8 of the units into an organisation that looks at affordable housing. It's a federal organisation, but it has chapters in Ottawa and Gatineau. We thought that the price of the homes, while it's sitting above what would be the cheapest homes you can buy, we thought that given the area, they still might be within the range that would be fine when considered nationally, because you'd have properties in Toronto and Vancouver built with the cheapest materials possible that are still more expensive than some of these homes. So we thought that that was a possibility. They did look at it, they did review it. In the end, they decided not to press ahead with that. So we released those ones for reservations into the open market.
And did you drop the price for those units?
We kept the price at the phase 1 price, even though they would have been the last ones built. Given where materials have moved, that would have been a heavy loss for the company. But we put it out there and made that commitment, but they didn't take that up.
Do you think now, seeing the rise in materials, that building affordable homes is doable here in the area, or do you think that the material pricing is just so far reached that it's still...
Well, I mean, to look at that at a couple of different angles, there's definitely no way that people's incomes have appreciated as quickly as what material prices have gone up in the last 12 months. There's just no way that that's happened on the average. So homes have become less affordable. If you were to build homes with the lowest cost materials possible, you would come out with much lower prices. Whether they're affordable for people is really boils down to, I suppose, the definition around affordability and what can be done. I mean, one of the things I would say, having lived in other countries and seen how the systems work there, is that the Canadian Housing and Mortgage Corporation do allow first home buyers to come in with a 5% deposit, which is must be incredibly helpful for first home buyers. They don't have that in a lot of other countries, so they're quite fortunate from that perspective. One thing that does increase the cost of a new home is that the buyer does have to pay GST, QVT. In a lot of other countries, GST is exempt on food and on shelter, but here it's just on food. People still have to pay GST on new homes.
That's interesting. And GST would really increase...
Well, it's 15%, yeah, so it's nearly 15%, so it's quite meaningful.
If someone wants to buy a home, would they have to maybe best contact you now and get on your wait list versus waiting for it to come on?
Yeah, I mean, that way they'll get an opportunity and an availability sooner than if they waited. But we wouldn't go out and advertise through real estate agents and things at this point.
Yeah, because the demand is already so high.
Yeah, and it's not just this project as well, but demand in general is high. I mean, we see anecdotes every day of how much demand there is for housing. It's been a surprise, given that when COVID first came about, people thought it would be very damaging to housing markets around the world, but it's had the opposite effect. And as we were talking about before, there's not many people I know who don't have a renovation planned that they've come up with over the last 12 months, spending so much time at home. So yeah, the demand for materials and even new houses is through the roof. And if you look at Gatineau, the vacancy in Gatineau for housing is about 0.8%. Now, a city should naturally sit around 3 to 4% to be considered full. So when you're at 0.8, it's quite dangerously low in terms of people who need houses just can't get them. And in part, La Paz has been great to deal with, but the city of Gatineau is much tougher. We do developments there as well. They take years to get through, and you know, in the meantime, people are short of housing.
And so I do find it fascinating that you have a large chunk of land here, and these days land is scarce to find. And how did you find this vacant land?
Well, I mean, we were very fortunate. The land here had been for sale for, I think, 4 years prior to us coming in and purchasing it. There were a number of issues that had to be solved. We did, relatively expensive due diligence in terms of the hydrological study, etc., that probably prevented some other people from looking at it. But we were very surprised that a lot of this quality, with proximity to all the services in Wakefield, was available and had been for so long.
Yeah. And how much land did you end up?
It's about 8.5 acres.
Okay. So it's pretty interesting. You can put 56 units on 8.5 acres. So it goes to show that you don't really need a lot of land to be able to house people. No,
and I mean the highest home is 2 stories. So we're not building we're not building towers or anything along those lines. This actual block of land was in the PPU. That was the city's vision for the future. And within that planning process, they had indicated that around 60 to 120 homes could be put on this land. So we went at the lower end of that, but the city and the plan definitely want to increase density around the village core. That takes advantage of the infrastructure. It allows more homes to be built. It's more environmentally friendly to have density around the infrastructure than have, say, 56 single acre lots with people building on those. The footprint's a lot lower. Okay. If someone were to purchase a home here, are they allowed to Airbnb, or is that a stipulation that is in the contract that you're not allowed? So they're not allowed. The reason that we didn't want Airbnb coming in is because it's too disruptive to the residents who live here. I'm sure someone could do very well renting it out every weekend, but partygoers coming in and leaving. So we made a rule that the shortest lease term would be 6 months. We thought that would capture seasonal workers, but it wouldn't. It would mean that the residents aren't disturbed with the coming and going of Airbnb. Okay. Well, Chris, you're in the industry of housing, and there's a great housing shortage here, and people are struggling. Do you have any advice for those people that are desperately looking to buy? It's a good question. Well, I think I don't have too much advice for people looking to buy, but I think in terms of helping to fix the issue, it's a lot about supply. So I think, like I mentioned, La Paz has been good and easy to deal with, but I think other city councils, when you're getting delays of years and years on every project that's put forward, that's problematic, and I think that exacerbates the problem. So you sort of need more efficiency around the approval process, I would say. Well, again, thank you, Chris, for your time and showing me around. No problem. I'm Lisa with La Paz Media, and we're signing out with Christopher Bryce. Thanks.